Welcome to Dungeon Fire Hobbies. This is Jeff, and today we are exploring villager life. We're going to check out villager trades, villager breeding, and all the basics to do with villagers. So let's go build our town. Yes. And there is a simple, I'm gonna say machine, though it's not really a machine, but it kind of is. There's a simple device you can make to make this automatic, kind of like how I did the furnaces downstairs, where it feeds into the furnace and then dumps the stuff into a chest at the end, and all you have to do is put the stuff at the top. You can do that with the composters too, and they'll just dump any any plant organic stuff you put into it into the composter, and then dump that into the chest at the bottom, and you get a bunch of bone meal.
Nice. Maybe we could set up that out near the garden.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. The problem with the thing is just that it's a little tall. Like, to fit it in here, we'd have to put the chest into the floor. And, yeah, it's just a little
What if we set it up,
ugly.
Like, out here?
Yeah, we could, like, for example, what we could do is we could, terraform this, like, bring this up a bit so that there's, so the hill goes back a little bit further. We need to smooth out the hill in some places anyway, and then like maybe put a shed here or something. And the shed is
I like that idea, a shed. There is a zombie coming up on your right. I think a shed would look really good if we build up this land a bit and then put a shed back here, and we could add that composter thing.
Well, when you're ready, we'll probably want to sleep before doing the villager stuff, but we can start moving on to that. I have a barking dog.
I just want you to know that it's there doing its job. Like a good dog.
Yeah, she's very helpful like that.
Fresh new day. Let's go learn villager things.
Yes. So, oh, wait, I need to grab some stuff, because I need a couple materials for this.
I just think it's hilarious. This village appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yep. Villagers are just, like, setting up new towns. That's what they're doing, apparently.
Yeah, they heard how cool things were over here, and they're trying to get in on it. And in fact, today is all about villagers.
Yeah, so let's get started with that. So as you know, as we've talked about before, villagers have their own jobs. Each villager that has access to what is called a job block will select that block and basically bind themselves to it, and that will determine their job. Some job blocks include things like composters, a lot of the
composter gets,
like
gets
smithing
you a
tables
farmer.
And stuff.
Farmers are in the straw hat.
Composter gets you a farmer. Yep, exactly. And then there's a bunch of other job blocks like fletching tables and smithing tables
if
and
I
stuff
recall, like,
that make
this
different
guy is
kinds.
a fisherman because he's got a fish and kind of.
Yep, and kind of the smaller hat. Yeah.
What's his job block?
His job block is actually the barrel, which means because their barrels are so useful for decoration, oftentimes you'll have just crap tons of fishermen in your village, because anytime you use a barrel, there might be a fisherman
That'll
attached to it.
work out pretty well for us, honestly. We're gonna build a great big like port side things. Hey, does this bell do anything? I learned that this was a bell. Ooh.
Yes, as you see, they start panicking. The bell is so if the village gets attacked, there are bad guys called pillagers out there, and if the village gets attacked, the bell will automatically ring, which tells all the villagers to run inside, and they'll go to their beds and kind of hide indoors. And also the player can ring it, as you can see, and they'll react the same way.
Oh, I should not have been given that
power. So the very rudiments of villagers are basically they do the job block thing, and they are tied to beds. So each villager has a bed, and if they can find one, a job block. So as you can see, they're all trying to cram in on beds and stuff. They will occasionally like swap beds and like change their job blocks and change their beds, but there are ways to at least lock the job block so that they won't change jobs. But basically, more or less, you will have one villager per bed. So if you want more villagers, you just put in more beds in your village, and they will start producing kids, though they do need a food source to make kids. Basically, they have to have enough food, because villagers have an inventory, so they can actually hold food. They have to have enough of that in order to, breed, to produce kids. To get the food, most of the time what happens is the farmers will grow crops, and then they'll harvest the crops themselves, and then they'll throw the crops to other villagers, and that just kind of automatically feeds them.
Do it on their
So like
own?
these little farms here, yep, they do it on their own. So as long as you have farmers, the farmers will keep the population at least kind of fed. It's not like usually if there's like one farmer with one of these plots, you're not going to get a population boom, but they'll at least be able to like restock if like zombies eat somebody or something. But our village has a number of farmers, so to the point where you sometimes see potatoes laying on the ground. I think that's because they harvest the field and their inventory is full, so they can't actually pick up all the potatoes because they have too much food. So I think our village, for example, has a glut of food and is doing great. So if we put in more beds, we'd get a bunch more baby villagers. Yeah. And then so that's kind of the rough generics of villager mechanics, like in terms of breeding. In terms of trading, so they each have their own jobs, and different jobs can trade different things. And if you, at least on computer, if you right-click them, whatever the equivalent of that is on a controller. Here, let's sleep, and we'll get them back working.
Man,
There's
it's been a long
monsters
time
nearby.
since we slept in this old hostel.
Yeah, I think there might be a monster under the ground somewhere, because it says there's monsters nearby. And now I have hiccups. Dang it. Well, let's... Do we have beds in other houses?
There's
We
beds,
got to, right?
There's tons of houses.
Oh, and this guy got trapped in the skeletal horse pen because these wheat bales, the hay bales, were too close to the fence, so he could walk over and walk onto the fence and fall in, but he can't get back out. Ah, there's beds in here. Yeah, you can go to the pink house if you like.
Bed and I'm kicking this guy out. Sorry, bro.
Yeah. Okay, so let's snag a guy. Maybe a farmer or something. Yeah, here's a farmer right here. Oh, nope, that's the wrong kind of farmer. He wants beets, and we don't have those. So if you right-click or if you trade with this farmer, interact with this farmer, you can see that his first trade is for carrots.
Oh yeah, I've done a little bit
if
of
you
this
give
way
him,
back when selling the carrots for money. Emeralds.
Yeah, so I threw you some carrots. If you trade with him, one of the things it'll do is it'll lock his trades, meaning he will stay a farmer even if you break his composter. He will always be a farmer. Once you've traded with a villager, they're locked in for life. You can't reset their trades. They will always be that job. In order for him to restock his supply, because eventually you trade him enough carrots and he'll run out of that trade. He won't do that trade anymore. To restock it, he needs access to a bed and to his job block, his composter. If he doesn't have that, like this guy who's trapped in horse pen, if he lives there forever, you trade all the carrots until he no longer does that trade anymore, he will he'll never refresh the trade. He'll never get it back because he doesn't have access to his composter. So normally you want to keep them with their job block. That's, we'll let this guy go at some point. So the economy is based on emeralds, as you saw. Emeralds are what villagers take as currency. They're basically useless otherwise. They do nothing except villager trades. And they can be very useful, though, because villagers can actually trade a number of really useful things. Like, let's find another villager. One whose job block we know.
Trades with him.
Like...
This guy.
Oh, yes, that's also true. The wandering merchant does also use emeralds. But yeah, they're just used for trading. So, let's take this guy. This guy's a mason. Masons, they'll take things like clay balls and give you things like bricks. And as you level them up, that's the other thing is, as you trade with them, you will unlock higher levels of trades, and they'll have more and more options, eventually capping out when they get master rank. And you can see he's got that kind of gray button on his front. All of the villagers have that kind of gray little badge on their front. And as they level up, that will change color. They'll become like, I think a copper color and then a gold color, something like that. And then I think they become diamond at the end. And yeah, it's something to that effect. Diamond is the highest, so they'll have a blue color. And I'm going to take this, so this guy right here, this guy in the brown hat with the feather in it, that's a Fletcher. He trades things like arrows and flint and things that are related to archery. I think he can trade you bows and stuff.
Oh my gosh, I can buy arrows. I don't have to.
Yeah.
Do you know how many hours I've spent mining flint out of gravel and killing chickens, Jeff?
Well, this guy will, he'll take sticks. He takes a lot of sticks, so it's not the most efficient. But sticks are so easy to get. That's it's an okay way to get emeralds to begin with, like when you don't have a really good way of getting emeralds. I'll show you a really good way to get emeralds later, but, I mean, I'll go ahead and tell you now. It's if you take farmers and you level them up enough that you can do the pumpkin and melon trades that they'll do, you can make automatic pumpkin and melon farms that will produce a good number of those and then trade them, and you basically don't have to do any work because it's all automated. You just have to do the trading and you'll get plenty of emeralds. So eventually we're going to want to set that up so that we can get plenty of stuff, because we don't really want to be spending 32 sticks for 1 emerald. Likewise, you can trade crops, but again, like, it's like 22 carrots, so it just takes so much.
Yeah. I'm going to buy so many arrows.
Let's go ahead and turn this mason here into a not mason. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and break his job block. That's the stonecutter here.
Rude, Jeff. Not gonna lie.
And then he should change out of mason, unless there's another stonecutter somewhere. There might be another stonecutter somewhere, because he's not changing out of mason.
Did maybe he get traded with at some point?
That is possible. Let me check. Yes. No, he didn't. That would be the experience that he would get from doing a trade, I think, right? Yeah, that's how much experience he'd get if I did a trade, but he doesn't have any right now. So I don't know why he's not. There must be another. Well, no, because he's hanging out at that stonecutter.
Can more than one villager share a job block?
Not the same one, no. So if you put only one composter, for example, in your whole village, you'll only have one farmer.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and find somebody we can change. Like, we can't break that barrel because that barrel's got our egg stuff in it. But this fisherman over here, have we traded with him?
I don't think we normally trade with fishermen because they want a lot of string.
Oh, that barrel was full of stuff. I did not realize that barrel was full of stuff. Why is this trader not... Why is this fisherman not trading? Not changing?
I don't know.
He should be changing. Okay, well...
Theoretically...
This is very weird.
They would lose a job?
Yes, so they would lose their job. I'm going to go ahead and just break job blocks until we find a villager who doesn't have a job. It should reset somebody. I just don't understand why...
It's going to be a tough economy, bro. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Because it should be instantaneous. As soon as they lose their job, they should just immediately become a standard villager, a jobless villager.
That's one of the ones in the green coats, right?
No. So the green coats are actually called nitwits, and nitwits do not have a job and cannot get a job. So they are basically useless villagers. The normal villagers are basically, they look like the farmers except without the hats. They just have that brown clothing.
Okay, a brown. So, what do the nitwits do? Oh.
Nothing. They can breed, so they can make more, babies, but that's it. They can't take jobs. They can't trade. They are functionally useless. So I should have been able to show you villager trading in more detail to show you one of the things you can do, but they're not losing their jobs for reasons I can't explain. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of do sort of a demo, I guess. So typically you'd take a villager who doesn't have a job, and you'd place the job block you want wherever you want it. You could also just do it out in the open like this to get somebody to take that job and just lock them in and then, build a place for them later. So we did actually change one. Maybe they shouldn't need a job block to change, but I don't know what's going on. Anyway, we just made a librarian. You take a lectern, and you'll make a librarian. And the reason why you want to make librarians, like 90% of the reason why you want to make villagers and trade with them, is if you look at the librarian's trade, he can trade you an enchanted book. While you're in it, I can't see what book it is.
Smite 2.
Smite 2? Okay, that's a bad book. But it's basically extra damage against undead. But as you can see, if I break the lectern, he turns into a standard villager. So if you place the lectern back down, it should have been working in the first place. You accidentally picked up the lectern. So if you place that down, he will get his job back. And the reason why that's important...
Hang on, I'm working on it. It's rough.
Yep. No worries. There he goes. He's back to being a librarian. And the reason why that's important is his trades changed. Now he is trading and selling bookshelves and stuff like that instead. And so you can basically re-roll your trades until you get ones you like. Now, you can only see the first few trades. You can't see what his higher level trades are going to be because once you trade with him, it's locked in. But one of the first books, or one of the first trades that a librarian will do, is an enchanted book, and it can be of any level in the game. So you could get a efficiency 5 enchanted book on that guy. Also, importantly, there's an enchant out there called Mending, which is an enchant that every time you get experience, the item that has Mending, as long as it's in your hand or being worn by you, will repair itself. So you can have items that literally never break, because you can just repair them with experience and they'll full heal themselves. And so that is obviously one of the most important enchants in the game, because once you have it, you don't need to keep spending diamonds to make new tools over and over again, or new armor. And librarians can trade it, so you can have an endless supply of mending books and just keep buying them whenever you need them. We are going to have to build a massive library. And so the other thing is, like, that efficiency 5 book I mentioned you can get on Breaking 3. You can get all these enchants that do wonderful things to make really powerful tools, and then put mending on them, and then you're set. You don't have to randomly roll your enchants at the enchanting table and just kind of hope you get what you want, because the librarians will just sell you the books you need. It's expensive experience-wise, because putting books on items is expensive. It takes a lot of experience, but it's very worth it in the long run. And one little thing, it's less useful with librarians, but when you're doing trades like the melon trades, like trading lots of melons to farmers to get lots of emeralds, they do give you experience every time you do a trade. So not only will it repair your stuff, but it'll actually get you the experience you need to like make new tools or whatever, to enchant new tools. The one thing about mending is if you gain experience while holding a mending item that is damaged. The experience will go to fix the mending item first, and that experience does get consumed, so your level will not increase. At least up until the point where the mending items are healed. Once they're healed, you'll get experience as normal. But yeah, doing things like the villager trading for like pumpkins and melons, for example, is a great way of getting a whole bunch of experience, a whole bunch of emeralds, and then in turn, with librarians, a whole bunch of enchants. Basically, like for a pickaxe, you'd want Unbreaking 3, Efficiency 5, and then either Fortune 3 or Silk Touch. It can only have one or the other. It can't have both. Swords, I know swords can end up with a whole bunch of enchantments. Some of them are mutually exclusive. Like, I don't think you can have Smite and also Sharpness, at least in Bedrock, but I'm not entirely sure. So it kind of depends on the tool, how many enchants you want. Like, shovels, axes, and pickaxes, you really only need 3 at most. Swords, you can go a few more because they've got a couple extra enchants. And armor, typically protection and unbreaking are really all you need, but then there's like helmets which can have underwater breathing enchants, and boots that can have like different speed up enchants that help you like move underwater or walk across soul sand faster, or things like that. So there's a few like pieces that can have extra enchants like boots and helmets, but like your pants and your chest are generally going to have 2 or 3, something in that ballpark.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so it kind of depends on the particular item, but there is a cap, there is a maximum. So even if a sword could have, say, 7 potential enchants on it all at the same time, in practice it can't have that many. It will fill up before then. I'm not exactly sure when the fill up point is, though.
Well, that was a nice quick little tutorial. Is there anything else about villagers?
Yeah.
Well,
probably. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but that's kind of the rudiments, the basics. There are some things you can do to like maximize efficiency. Like there's something called a villager trading hall, which is basically what we'd be doing with the library, is have a big place where a whole bunch of villagers of a certain job are located, so you can do all your trading in one spot. Some people lock them up in little stalls so that it's easy to access them and they're not wandering around and like getting lost. And some people let them free roam. It kind of depends. Locking them up is easier in terms of doing the trading, but it's less organic and less village-like.
Well, what if we had market stalls and kind of designed different than this, and then they were like standing behind it?
Yeah, and we absolutely can do that. I have done that a number of times. And like you can make like help desks and stuff like that the librarians are standing behind, so that they're behind a desk, and so they're kind of trapped in a spot you want them to work at, but it looks organic and natural, like they're doing a job, as opposed to being imprisoned forever.
I think that's probably how we'll end up doing it.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So yeah, that's the basics of villagers. If I think of anything else, we'll cover whatever I'm missing later, but that's kind of the basics. And there's, wandering traders are kind of the last thing, I guess, but they're pretty straightforward. They just show up randomly, periodically, and you can do trades with them.
They get stuck in places.
Yeah, they get stuck in places all the time. They recently, as of recording, not that long ago, added the ability to trade wandering traders stuff to get emeralds from them, and they'll usually take weird and esoteric things, I think. That didn't used to be the case. It used to be you could only buy from traders. You couldn't sell to them. Now you can sell to them. I don't know how much of a difference it makes, really, because, like, who's got a whole bunch of fermented spider eyes to trade, but in theory, you could have a whole bunch of those and trade and make a whole bunch of emeralds.
Looks like we've run out of materials for today, so that about wraps it up.
Thanks for playing along.